Welcome to the I'm So Tired podcast, where we are so incredibly tired that we fight our depression by talking about random pop culture bullshit for your and our own entertainment. My name is Islam Dubai, and with me, as freaking always, the man, the legend, the Italian sausage himself, Hugo Pinay. Hugo, how are you doing?
Amazing. No, I'm not doing. I'm really tired. What about
Yeah,
you?
I'm fucking tired. I'm so tired, man. Like I can't. Oh, dude, I can't handle this anymore. It's April. It's been a year and a half with fucking COVID. Not a year. It feels like 10 years. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore.
Yeah, it's like over a year at this point.
Over a year at
A
this
year
point.
and 1 month, I would
Yeah,
say, more or less. But it feels like forever. Yeah,
it feels
and
like forever, and that's not good.
yeah, I had a week-long break from my lessons, but they started again today, so it was painful. It
So you're
was pretty
tired again.
painful. Oh fuck yeah! Yeah. Starting online classes again feels horrible. I can't wait for them to be over.
So don't worry if you're tired, because I've got something to help you get through your depression. This is what we're gonna talk about today, Hugo. First of all, we're gonna talk about E3. Apparently, it's happening this year. Afterwards,
Yeah.
what about all this Kojima Xbox talk? Is he gonna work for Xbox? Is PlayStation being a cocky, cheeky bastard? And then we're gonna have the Night City report, episode 2, colon, Revachol report, because I'm gonna talk a bit about
Yes.
Disco Elysium instead. Then, of course, as always, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, episode 4.
Oh yeah.
What crazy episode. What an ending to that episode, even. Like, what an ending.
Yeah.
And then you finally played Devil May Cry 5. So we're gonna hear your thoughts mainly, but I played it as well, and yeah, I still have thoughts. So yeah, that's gonna be the show today. I'll be hosting, and next time, if you didn't like my hosting, well, you're gonna enjoy episode 5 then, because Hugo will be back. And then we're gonna change it back and forth like that. Hugo, E3 is happening this year. And
It is.
yeah. So the ESA the ESA has confirmed that E3
Yes, yeah.
2021 is indeed happening and will be an all virtual event. This means that the show will take place over the internet instead of the LA Convention Center and will run from June 12th through June 15th. The ESA has also confirmed the following companies will be part of E3. So, Nintendo, Microsoft, Capcom, Konami, Ubisoft, Take-Two Interactive, Warner Bros. Media, and Koch Media. Koch Media? Koch,
Can you tell me who's missing there?
Sony.
Sony's missing.
Of course, because
Yeah.
they stopped doing.
Which, okay. So technically, I think Nintendo and Sony and EA, and I'm not sure if Microsoft as well, technically, their conferences weren't actually part of E3 even in the years prior.
Microsoft
Like they
were,
were,
though.
Microsoft
Right?
were, but everybody, maybe, I'm not sure. But I know that everybody else definitely, their conferences happened around the days of E3, but they weren't technically part of E3. So in that sense, you could say that it's kind of surprising that the ESA is specifically mentioning Nintendo and Microsoft and EA and all those companies because they actually weren't necessarily at E3, officially before. But the fact that they are actively participating in E3 and Sony isn't is interesting. I understand why, because I think at this point Sony just has decided to always do its own thing and like completely go by itself and do its own strategy. But it does show kind of I don't know. I think they're a little they don't have their finger on the pulse of what people want right now as much as they used to. At least at last generation, at the beginning of last generation.
Yeah, and that's like the feeling I have as well, that they're kind of acting like how Microsoft acted last generation with the reveal of the Xbox One. Just not as extreme, but
Yeah.
still. Like the whole thing, like they're focusing so much on TVs and movies, for example, like doing the
Oh yeah.
Uncharted movies, and they're doing the Last of Us TV show, and apparently whatever happened to the Sly Cooper movie that never came out. And I guess like it seems like they're really doing this whole like transmedia expansion. We're focusing on the IPs that they have instead of like, I don't know, experimenting more with games and having fun and actually like trying to elevate the medium. Because it seems to me, and I've talked about this before, I've talked about this a lot actually, that one of my big issues with Sony right now is the fact that for me, it seems like they're so focused on the triple A experience
Hmm.
that they've, and by triple A experience, I mean the third person camera behind the shoulder, narrative driven game where, okay, now we're gonna do some walk and talks, and oh, now the story is gonna pick up kind of gameplay.
Hmm.
And at this point, I'm just like, is this the only thing they're gonna be known for? Because it's, I don't know. I don't like it, and I'm annoyed that they don't want to take any more chances. It seems that's how I read this, like this change that's coming. What do
Okay.
you think, Hugo?
So, um, I think that their biggest mistake right now is more in their messaging than anything else. Because I think, yeah, they do have that reputation for only doing that kind of game, but at the same time, like a month from now, they're releasing Ratchet and Clank. So it's not like they're not doing games that are a little different. Like I think Deathloop is a timed PlayStation
But
exclusive.
that's not them though, so that doesn't
No, it
count.
isn't them. No, I know, but I
Yeah.
know like the thing. Like yes, but also they did The Last Guardian, they did Bloodborne. Yes,
They did
Horizon
the
or
Last
Zero
Guardian. They
Dawn is
did Blood.
open world.
It's great that you mentioned those two games because
Yeah,
they shut down Sony Japan Studios, which
yeah,
did the Last Guardian, which did Bloodborne. I feel like
that's
that
true.
for me is like the red flag, honestly. Because yeah, we
Hmm.
can talk about games like Returnal is a first party
Yeah,
game. That's different. It's a roguelike.
yeah,
Still with the third person camera shooting
that's
thing
fair. But
with the
it it
same
look
kind of,
it looks very different from other Sony games, just
it
gameplay
does.
wise.
It does, and that I agree with. But
Hmm.
when you also list, like we're basing this out on the Bloomberg article from Jason Schreier that just came out
Yeah.
today, actually.
Hmm.
And for me, it's like when you read about the culture that they're building, it doesn't sound like a good culture, whatever how you want to
No,
phrase
it
that.
doesn't.
For the
I agree.
because for me at least, this reads as if that they're trying to create this like. How should I? I'm trying to find the right word for it, but it seems to me like they're trying to create this um like this machine that just pumps out these like big blockbuster games. Because like look at how they, like when you read the article, how they treated the guys from Sony Bent. They
Hmm.
did Days Gone. Days Gone was like the best game of all time. It
Uh,
did sell relatively well though,
it
but
sold
like,
well, yeah.
yeah, it sold well. But they were like, yeah, you're not allowed. You're not gonna make a sequel. You're gonna go work on the fucking, what was it, Last of Us remake? Was that them
Yeah,
or
or like something to do with Uncharted. It's like it
yeah?
wasn't very clear.
It wasn't
Um,
clear, but yeah,
yeah, it's interesting. I certainly think Sony right now is showing some of its tendencies. I think that they're doing a similar thing to what they did at the beginning of the PS3 generation. I don't think it's quite as bad because I still think there's quite a few very interesting Sony games that are supposed to come out in the next few years. But they're certainly being very cocky and confident in what made them successful this generation. Um, we'll see if it completely works out for them. As much as we can criticize them, I like a lot of their games. You know, uh, we'll see what happens with Kojima. We'll talk about that in a second. But Death Stranding is another, for me, example of a great, great, innovative, weird game that they published. But I completely agree that right now, based on a lot of these reports, it seems like what we're going to get from Sony is kind of the stereotypical AAA Sony game. And people love those. I love those, but I certainly would love them to experiment a bit more, to give interesting studios enough creative freedom to do what they want to do. We'll see. We'll see. I also think, again, I think there's an element of this that is communication, because the way they are not communicating what they're actually doing, and the way they feel very distant right now, and not they don't have a personality in front of you can criticize Xbox all you want, and I criticize Xbox a lot sometimes because I think they should start actually releasing the games that they're promising. But having Phil Spencer as a personality definitely gives them a better image to the general public.
oh yeah,
That being
they're
said, with like some people now are saying, oh, now Xbox is totally winning the console war. Let's stop talking about the console war, please. Please, let's stop
Hugo,
talking about the
Hugo,
console war.
I knew your father. We fought together in the console wars.
No, we need to stop. Honestly, like, I want both companies and both consoles to be successful and innovative, and to push each other to make great games. That's all I care about. We'll get into it in a second. If Kojima is actually making a game with Xbox, I'll buy an Xbox Series X to play it. That's fine. I don't mind. As long as somebody's giving Kojima money to do his wild shit, I don't care.
Yeah, but for me, because for me at least, actually I realized I keep saying fordi for me. Because fordi means because in Danish. It's super dumb. I need to stop saying fordi. Okay, because whenever I say fordi, just know I'm saying because.
Fair enough.
Yeah, because for me at least, what I'm seeing here is Sony like really hammering down like the fact that what worked for them last generation. And we can't like disagree. Like I just said, those games are good though. Like whether you like it or not, Spider-Man is a good game. God of War is a good game. The Last of Us Part 2 is a good game.
Great games. They're all games I love.
Yeah.
But hopefully that's not all they do.
Yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn, great game. Like I like all of those games that I mentioned. Okay,
Yeah.
Last of Us Part 2, but I don't want to get into that. Like the story, hate the gameplay. Anyways, for me,
I love that game.
Yeah,
let's not talk about it. But I love it.
No discourse. No discourse. But that's the thing for me that it lands is like I've talked about this before. If you look like at the PS3, Xbox 360 era, one of the things that was oversaturated there was how many first-person shooters there were. Like Sony was just doing first-person shooters at that point, and that's the only thing you were seeing. Ratchet and Clank is an outlier for me at least, but it seemed like to me first-person shooters were becoming the norm, and that was like both at Sony and Microsoft. And now we're seeing the same thing with these third-party games.
Third-person games,
third-person games. And for me, like seeing them shut down like Japan studio, for example, that made that helped make weird shit like The Last Guardians and Shadow of the Colossus, and helped make Bloodborne for that matter. For me, that's sad because it seems to me that they're just like focusing on the whole like mainstream consumer, and it's gonna sell like hotcakes. I know, but what about the games that are cool but don't really sell as much? Like, and the games that are creative, for example, Death Stranding. Like, if they're gonna continue going down this path, we're not gonna see another Death Stranding from Sony at least.
Probably not.
I don't think they're gonna take that risk because it's a huge risk. Like working with Kojima doesn't seem like a risk when you think about it, because it's Kojima. Like he's made some of the most popular games of all time. Yeah. But Death Stranding was super divisive. IGN gave it, what was it, a 6 out of 10?
Well, and gave it like a 6.8 or something.
And then like, what was it, IGN Italia, I think? IGN in Italy was like, no, this is a masterpiece. What are you guys talking about?
They gave him a 10, Yeah,
and they were like, in Europe, people were like, oh, this is a very good game. And in America, people were like, yeah, this is boring. You're just a postman.
Not enough shooting.
and people can't connect with each other. And you're a post. This is so unrealistic. And then now we're here.
And now we're here, You predicted it. Eventually, we have to talk about Death Stranding in depth. I fucking love that game.
Oh, yeah, me too. Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
So amazing. I hope that gets a PS5 version.
I think we should actually move on to the Kojima talk. Yeah. It seems like a natural progression.
Yes.
So, Kojima, apparently, now these are rumors, right? It's not like something concrete set in stone, that he's actually been working in talks with Phil Spencer and Microsoft to work with them to
publish his next game.
What do you make of that?
So we've talked about this off camera, but I initially was quite skeptical of this rumor because I thought, oh, come on, like Kojima, one of the big Japanese developers, is just going to ignore the Japanese market. Because as we know, Xbox really doesn't really have a market at all in Japan. Like I was reading the other day, I think they sold just over 100,000 Xbox Ones in the whole of Japan, which is
Series X
nothing.
or ones.
ones.
Yeah, but
So the whole of last generation, 100,000 compared to like 9 million PS4s and like 20 million Switches. So they just really don't have a market over there. But then these reports about Sony and how its internal culture start coming up, and there was that tweet that we saw from Paris. Who was his surname? I can't remember the surname.
I don't know.
Whatever,
That
that guy.
That
You know
guy.
the guy. He works with Kind of Funny and
like
other
Cyberpunk.
podcasts and
Yeah,
stuff.
that dude.
Yeah. And he made a good point that if Sony is moving away from risky games that don't necessarily sell as much as a Last of Us or a God of War or a Horizon, maybe it could be true that Kojima is actually seeking financing from Xbox. Because why not? Who else is going to give Kojima the kind of money that he needs to make one of these wild games where Mads Mikkelsen wears like a Christmas hat and sings you a song? It's like, if Xbox is willing to give him money, I'm more power to him. Again, that's going to be the reason why I buy an Xbox Series X, honestly.
Yeah.
So hell yeah. And for you, it's going to come on PC, so that's even better.
Like it's going to come on PC, probably like Games Pass day one even, so I don't even...
Yeah.
Like, honestly, if it's a Kojima game, I might even like just straight up buy it, because...
Dude, I'm buying a physical copy. I don't give a shit about it.
Yeah. I probably won't be able to get a physical copy for PC,
Yeah.
like a copy with a code or whatever, but
Yeah,
who
yeah,
cares? No, for me, it makes total sense. Like, if you look at how Xbox is operating, it seems to me that they're trying to get as diverse a studio catalog as possible, and not just be the dude bro shooter as they're known to be. Because look at their portfolio. Like, originally they had what? Gears of War, Halo, Forza. Now they have and now they're having like new versions of all those games coming out. I don't, they haven't announced the Gears, but it's coming, let's be honest.
Yeah, for sure.
And they have Forza, and Halo Infinite's gonna come out, inshallah, one day in the future. If it's
one day.
It's gonna come out. But like, just like acquiring Bethesda, how many different types of games you're getting? Just like you're getting RPGs now, like big RPGs. And they used to be known for like having RPGs, Microsoft, because they used to own BioWare.
Yeah,
that's something people forgot. Like,
and also
BioWare.
I think, wasn't it Elder Scrolls 3 and 4 they released on Xbox first and then came to
Elder Scrolls
PlayStation
3
later?
never came to PlayStation. Elder Scrolls 3 was an exclusive. Same with like Jade Empire, which is again and Star Wars Old Republic, BioWare games. It seems to me they're trying to like circle back to what actually worked in the first place, like having a diverse catalog of games. And that to me is interesting, and that to me is something I want to see more of, because you can do like Sony and just be happy that Japanese developers want to make games for you, because like, again, remember the Atlas game, like Persona, for example, Persona 4 or Persona 5. Okay, Persona 4 just made it to PC,
even
like years after,
even Final Fantasy, because Final Fantasy 16 is going to be a timed exclusive. Final Fantasy 7 remake was a timed exclusive.
So the Japanese developers still want to like buy into that. It seems like they're still willing to pay to get these exclusives. They're just not gonna make them in-house anymore. I feel like that's also an important distinction to make. Like, you're still gonna get a bunch of cool exclusives over at the PlayStation front. I just wish that, for me at least, I feel like having Kojima is the right signal to send to like the Japanese market for Microsoft.
It is.
Say, hey, because Japanese people are PC gamers as well. There are a lot of PC gamers, so it makes sense to have these games come to PC as well. So I think we're gonna see more Japanese stuff come to both Xbox and PC, and even some niche stuff. And it wouldn't be the first time, because I just want to remind you that the creator of Final Fantasy, Sakaguchi, when he left Square and started his own company, he worked for Microsoft and released JRPGs from the creator of Final Fantasy to Microsoft. Those games, however, turned out to be not so good, but it happened. That's the point. It happened. So for me, this isn't crazy that Kojima might end up working for it, especially if they're going to have like that the diverse portfolio. I mean, that's what makes Nintendo so cool. Nintendo has everything. Like Mario himself, like, It's like, what? You want like sports game? We have a Mario for that. You like racing? We have a Mario for that. You want Mario strategy? We have a Mario for that. Like, that's amazing. Fuck all these companies. Like, if they were a console war, Nintendo won a long time ago.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, for sure. With the Switch, for sure. I mean,
That
come
being
on.
said, of course, these are rumors.
Yeah, yeah.
So we'll see how much of it is going to be true. Because also there is kind of a thing in the games industry where kind of narratives get created, and then
Yeah.
for months everybody, oh, that's what's happening, that's the truth, and then suddenly Sony announces a bunch of cool weird games, and this is all forgotten. We'll see how it goes, but certainly I think Sony aren't doing themselves any favors by not communicating anything at all, because I think when they brought Kojima on stage, that was a moment. And that was one of the big moments of last generations when it was like clear that Sony was like, we're investing in amazing games. This is why you need to own a PlayStation.
Yeah.
And, you know, I bought a PlayStation 5 as soon as I could because I really like their exclusives. But I hope they can be as interesting and diverse as they were on PS4 and not just give me more Last of Us, as much as I love The Last of Us.
And one last thing, just I'm kind of circling back to the whole like is PlayStation being cocky, talk which we are like doing. There's also like the whole thing with them shutting down the PS3 and Vita stores, which also irks me. Like talking about this whole thing that they're doing, them shutting down those stores for me screams that they don't really care about games preservation. There's no wonder like piracy is a thing when you think about it. There's no wonder that people pirate games and make ROMs and put them online, because these like this is art. Like I don't want to get into the whole video games art discussion. Like no, it's art. Let's move on.
It's art. There's no discussion.
There's no discussion. It's art, and for me, like having like these pieces of art being inaccessible is
it's
really
just wrong.
fucked up. Yeah, it's wrong. And like I think the same day or the day after Microsoft announced, oh, the old Xbox games are coming to the cloud service now. Of course, it's not like the best way to play these games because it's still like cloud gaming, but you can play old games.
But they exist.
They exist. They acknowledge them. While I forgot the head of PlayStation, one of the heads of PlayStation, who said like, why would anyone want to play old games? Have you seen the old Gran Turismo? It's ugly by today's standard. It's like, yeah, that's why I want to play them.
Yeah, because you want to have that nostalgic experience. Yeah, exactly. And also, like, there's certain old games that they've been gone for so long that people are clamoring for them. Because, like, if Silent Hill came back, like the originals, if they were released, if Metal Gear came back, or you know, Legacy of Kain, there's a bunch of it. Even Sly Cooper. Sly Cooper has a beloved fan base. It's like has a strong fan base, and there's no way to play those if you don't own a PlayStation 3. There's a reason
why people, exactly. There's a reason why people keep buying those fucking remasters, because there's no way to play these games. I mean, at least like Xbox, it seems to me that the fact that we can play PS4 games on the PS5 is a direct response to smart delivery from Xbox.
For sure,
because they didn't talk about backwards compatibility at all, and Microsoft made like a vocal point from the start.
Look, for PlayStation 5, they did. Like, PlayStation 5, from the beginning, they always said it's going to be backwards compatible with PS4. The issue there was then that the PlayStation 3 games and before, they actually have to re-release them in order for them to run on the PlayStation 5 because of the different architecture that PS3 had. That being said, they should invest in those games. It's absolutely ridiculous that you can't play Metal Gear Solid 4. It's absolutely ridiculous that you can't play, even the other Metal Gear games anywhere on a PlayStation platform that isn't PlayStation 3. That's crazy. They should invest in that stuff because it's the kind of move that gives you fans.
Yeah, because the only reason I have my PS3 is because Metal Gear Solid 4. Like, that's the reason. It's my Metal Gear
I have my
machine.
PS3 right here.
Yeah, I have my like I'm looking at it right now. It's right next to me. It's my Metal Gear machine.
Yeah,
and the fact that these games, because Konami doesn't care anymore, because Konami
of course,
easily ported all of these to current gen consoles and PC easily, but they don't give a fuck. Like no, these companies don't really care about the old games. Like even though people will buy them, like I will buy a new Metal Gear collection.
Fuck
to
yeah.
have them here. I would buy
Like
it.
if they did a collection 1 to 4 with like remastered graphics and put it out for 70 euros, I'm buying that shit. And it's not the best move in terms of consumer friendliness, but it's still better than not having the games at all.
Yes, exactly. So, future of PlayStation. Are you hopeful? Are you scared? Are you worried?
I remain positive
Yeah.
because even look, even the PlayStation 3 generation, which at the beginning they kind of fucked up a bit, they still put out a bunch of really cool games. Like Metal Gear Solid 4 was a PlayStation exclusive. That game is absolutely insane, and I love it. And the Uncharted series, the Last of Us, the first Last of Us, when it released, it didn't feel as right as of now. It feels like, oh, this is kind of tropey, and we've seen this type of game. But at the time, was like an incredible game. So I think PlayStation has a talented enough group of developers that they'll still give me great games. And there's a lot of games from them that I'm looking forward to. Please do Bloodborne 2. That being said, I'm certainly less positive than I was at the when I bought a PlayStation 5 day one a few months ago. I'm so happy that I did. I love the machine, and it's going to get a bunch of amazing games, even from third parties. But still, I call myself a PlayStation fan, but I think it's healthy to be critical of them right now because they're just not being very open and they're not making the right decisions.
For me, I agree like with almost everything you just said. But for me, the messaging just like up to the release of the PS5 just irked me in a wrong way. Like it just felt wrong. Like every time Microsoft was out talking, I was like, this makes sense to me what they're saying. What these guys are saying doesn't. And I've had like that feeling.
Wait, don't you remember? I thought that conference that they did where they actually revealed the console and they showed a bunch of trailers for games. I thought that conference was really good for the PlayStation 5. I mean, but the first time that they showed Horizon 2, the first time that they showed Rift Apart, I thought that was
here's
a really
what was
good
my
conference.
takeaway from that conference.
Yeah.
I still couldn't understand because I felt like, okay, all of these games, I played the first ones on my PS4. Like it didn't feel like that punch that I needed still. Like for me, like the only game that legitimately impressed me from that conference was Ratchet and Clank. Because that game was like, oh, this is why you need a next-gen console. Like look at how fast the loading times are. We're jumping from levels to levels in sequence. For me, that was like amazing. But the rest, I remember looking at Horizon being like, yeah, that's more Horizon. This looks like, it looks pretty, but I'm not impressed. And it was the same with like Miles Morales. It's like, this looks cool, but I'm not impressed. And I can buy these games on my PS4 Pro. Like I have a Pro version at least, so I don't even need a 5 yet. That being said,
well, to be fair though, have you seen any game from anyone who that looks proper next gen that impressed you graphically yet? I feel like until we're a few years into the generation, we're not going to get that.
no,
And I don't think we got it last gen either way. So
we didn't get that, but at least from Microsoft, they kind of showed me, hey, we're trying to like, by having Games Pass first and foremost, by having having like value into like adding value to you, the consumer. For me, at least, that's something like I gravitate more towards than what Sony's doing right now. With we have these premium HBO experiences. I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't impress me as much as it did back then. Well, right now I'm looking more for like convenience, I guess, if that makes sense. The convenience and looking for that whole like, oh, it's the whole Xbox ecosystem in one box from the original Xbox to now with all these old games as well. And that for me, like that matters to me because I enjoy going back and playing old games. Like I buy a lot of old games. I do it really often. That for me is like what kind of irked me in the wrong way.
That's okay, but then we're talking about two different things then. Because if we're talking just about next gen, I don't think either company has done much to sell you on, oh, this is the game that you have to buy a next gen console to play.
I agree.
Because like
except
games
for Ratchet and Clank, actually.
Ratchet and Clank, Ratchet and Clank is the one, I guess, at this point.
Also,
and maybe Hellblade, but we haven't seen any of the actual game, so who knows?
Yeah,
it looks amazing though, to be fair.
Regarding but just to like sum up my thoughts, honestly, is I want to I'm still at the I want to see more from Sony part. I
Mhm.
feel like I haven't seen still why I should own this box,
For sure.
and I'm sure it's like it is a good machine. I'm not saying it's a bad machine. Like it's obviously a great console.
It
Like
is.
nobody is disagreeing at that point. But until they can sell me, there's two ways they can do that. Either show me that they're willing to diversify and have like different cookie games,
Yeah.
or Bloodborne 2.
Bloodborne 2.
Bloodborne 2, like it's an instant, but I will be one of those people sit all day refreshing home pages until I can get the game, I can get the console. I mean, but that, or at least for me right now, especially because you can't even get the damn thing. Like you can't even buy the console. Like in
Yeah.
Denmark, you want to know how you can buy a PS5 in Denmark, Hugo?
How?
Right now. So in Denmark, we have these. I'm gonna translate it. It's called "Ja tak" tilbud, which means please, please and thank you, or no, yes, thank you, sales. Yes, thank you, sale. Basically, it was the direct translations. So the way a lot of stores, when they get the fucking consoles, they will put up a Facebook post and be like, "Oh, Bilka in Onse has PS5s in stock. You can get this sale where you get 2 controllers and Miles Morales. You just have to write ja tak, yes thank you, one, yes thank you, one."
What the
And
fuck
then you have
is
to
this
write in the
country,
comments.
man?
I'm not kidding. This country is fucking obsessed with Facebook. I don't know what. It's like a part of this country. I hate it so much. I want to delete my Facebook, but I can't because it's part of this country now. And then you
You
have to
just
write,
need
yes,
it.
yes, please, and thank you. I need one. And then to write you, hello, Hugo. Thank you for ordering a PlayStation. Here's your number. When you go to the store,
Incredible.
give them this number. And I'm thinking, can't I just go in and pretend to be Hugo and just give them the number because it's public?
Yeah.
Can
Pretty
I just
much.
say, I'm Hugo, here's the number? So now, no, you can't even get
Amazing.
the PS5 as a normal person. And
Mhm.
we'll see. And I mean, let's be honest. If they ever release a slim version, I'm probably gonna buy that.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's move on. We've talked a lot about this part.
Yeah. But
We
I
have
mean, it's interesting. So
this. Okay, this is gonna
good.
be a long
Good.
podcast again. Like we're a half hour
Eh,
in, and we still
that's fair.
okay, yeah. It's time for the
Well, let's
oh.
be quick on the Night City report for this
What?
week.
This is my segment now. Welcome
Okay,
to the
that's fair. That's
second
fair.
episode of the Night City Report. With me, where we're not going to Night City, we're going to the city of Revachol and say, Hugo, I've been playing Disco Elysium. You've
Yes,
watched a bit on stream, haven't you? Well, I've been playing. You've
I
been
have.
in
Yeah.
chat, yeah, a bit. This game, and I'm not exaggerating. I can't even say that word.
Exaggerating.
Thank you. This game is like slowly climbing up into my. This could be like a top 5 favorite game of all time.
Fuck.
And I'm not even joking. I'm just like, I'm constantly thinking about it. So this game is like written and designed by one dude, apparently. It's a very small company, and it's based off. So it takes place in the same universe as this guy's novel. So this guy wrote a novel in this universe, and the game actually references things from the novel, apparently. And the novel is getting
Okay.
translated into English. He's from
Amazing.
Finland, I believe.
This is some Yoko Taro bullshit.
Yeah, Latvia. He's from Latvia. Sorry. So it's a Latvian game, actually. Yeah, it's some Yoko Taro. Yeah, it's referencing that. And that book is actually a spin-off from his Dungeons and Dragons campaign. So as far as I understand, the game is based on it's a spin-off of a book that is a spin-off of D&D campaign. Good thing you know about D&D
Wow.
from a podcast here 2 episodes ago. Last episode? 2 episodes ago. So the game itself, what makes the game so interesting is the system. This has the best conversations I've ever experienced in a game, ever. Full stop. Like every single RPG has to look at this game and learn from it. Because the way conversations works is it uses a die system, but
Mhm.
instead of like a d20 like in D&D, it's 2d6s. so just like a 6-sided die. And two, like if you roll 2 6s, automatic success in every check. But the stats, however, every stat's governed like different. Like this stat called conceptualization, which is basically how good you are at conceptualizing thing in your mind. For example, you have hand-eye coordination, you have empathy, you have authority, you have one called encyclopedia, one called logic, and
So it's
while sorry,
all of the stats are about conversation stuff then.
yeah, almost. Then there's like the
Mm.
physical, like hand-eye coordination also says like, yeah. So there are some that are more about like you being burly or strong. And I've read that there is combat in the game. I haven't experienced it yet. I'm like almost, I think I'm 20 hours in. I have not had a single combat encounter. I don't know if it's because of the way I'm playing the game that I haven't had a combat encounter, but apparently there is combat in the game.
Could be.
Um,
So
like
apparently there are so many different parts that you probably couldn't play a playthrough that is way more combat focused.
yeah, yeah. And I'm already thinking about doing my next one is I'm gonna play like a physical brawler kind of guy who's like super stupid but just wanna fight his way through everything. And the game's like conversation system works is interesting because conversation almost feels like a fight sometimes because you're trying to figure out what the other because the whole game is about you solving this one murder. And at the same time, your main character has amnesia. He can't even remember his name. Like the first time he looks in the mirror, he's like, I don't know who the fuck this guy is. Why is he so ugly? And that's like how you meet yourself. And it's so funny. Like the game's writing is hilarious. I've been laughing out loud multiple times while playing the game. Yeah. And the way it works like with conversation is that you have these checks. You have white checks and red checks. Red checks, if you fail them, you cannot retry them. White checks, you can retry them. But you can only retry them when you put a point in the corresponding thing. For example, there's this one dude I tried to empathize with. He had low empathy. Okay. I put a point in empathy. Tried to empathize with him again. Didn't work. Low empathy. Put another point in empathy. Tried again. Empathy is now locked. I can't put any more points in it because my psyche, which is like the overstat where it's like a substat, like empathy is substat to psyche, is so low. I can't put more points into being empathetic. So that story branch is now closed off to me. So this could have been a potential way of me like getting more info. I can't do that anymore. I have to figure out another way of doing it. And sometimes like
So cool.
the game is so open. Like there was this part I played on stream 2 days ago, and I just kept walking. I kept talking to stream, telling them like I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. I have two options of going about this. I don't want to spoil it, so I'm trying to be as spoiler free as possible. I have two ways of doing this. Either I can work with this asshole who I don't trust, or I can help this asshole who I also don't trust, because they both seem like horrible people, and I'm gonna give them power if I work with them. And then today, I just realized like I could interact with a certain item I had, because that item is like tied to one of those quest lines. And by interacting with it, because my character had so high logic, it just like rolled for me automatically, and it was like, hey, you can also do this. And just gave me a third option by going for the logic. And the thing is, this game, when I'm talking, it sounds so complex, right? It's not as difficult. Like people make it seem to be extremely difficult. It's not. It's actually very simple because all you do is walk around and talk.
Yeah.
You just talk to people, and the game's what's it called? The log, the journal is very good. There's just no markers, so whenever you get like a new quest, there's no exclamation point over people's heads. You talk to them, and they'll be like, "Hey, honestly, I actually have this problem I have to solve. Will you help me?" And by helping them, you might unlock like new ways of going about your daily routine. Lastly, art style, fucking amazing. This game looks.
The art style is incredible.
This game looks like you talked about how it reminded you of Dishonored, like just an arcane like studios game.
For sure.
Which makes sense since they're also like European. It has like that European art. You know what I'm talking about to say that? Like,
I do know what you're talking about.
European comic booky art style. It has that art style.
Yeah.
But like graphically, the game, like the character models almost look like PS1 character models.
Mhm.
But in like I'm playing the game on my monitor,
Yeah,
so it's like
high
in two.
resolution. Yeah.
Yeah, it's high. Like I'm playing in 2K resolution, so it looks super cool still. And for me, that's the style I've been waiting for. Seeing that low poly style being brought up to today's standards. For me, this game has set the standard for RPG conversations going forward. Like if people want to be taken seriously with all your choices matter, this is the game that they have to look at. Because damn, if it doesn't feel like my choices matter. And also, the creator of the game talked about the reason why it's only a male character, and he gave like because he got interviewed. I think it was Game Informer, and the interviewer
Mm.
asked him, "Why can't you choose to be a female character since it's an RPG?" And he said he would love to, but for him, that would actually require him to rewrite the entire story because he says the fact that your character is a man plays into the story as well.
Mm.
Like sexism is a thing. It's not
Right.
shying away from things, and that's also like a cool. It's not trying to do the RPG tropey thing of in our universe we've eliminated sexism and men and women are equal,
Yeah.
which cool for some games, but in a game like this that's so heavily story focused,
Hmm. You need that edge.
you need that edge. You need that thing that makes it like so believable. Because he said, yeah, we could easily have swapped the avatar and made him a female, and you can choose by male or female. But instead, they're like, no. If we had to add a woman to the game, I want to add that additional dialogue and change the game up so it also has that baggage of being a woman with it, which I think
Mhm.
is so cool. And like a
Yeah.
sincere answer.
Because it's also kind of drawing on
Yeah.
neo noir
Yeah.
detective storytelling,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, definitely. Like you can tell, it's super like drawing inspirations from the neo noir style. Like you can tell it, like it almost feels cyberpunky, like noir. Like it almost feels
Hmm.
like Blade Runner at some points.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to this dude who's turning into one of my favorite video game characters of all time, Kim Kutaragi from the game, who is your partner. He's like from another police department. He's with you, and this guy, I legitimately think about what he will think of me when I'm doing my answers, and and he doesn't get angry. He just gets disappointed, which is even worse. So sometimes I'm like, "Fuck." He's disappointed in me. I don't like that. I love Kim. Kim is the best. He's legit one of the best characters I've seen in a game in a while. So yeah, I'm not gonna be updating as much as you're gonna be throughout your adventures in Night City.
Yeah.
I just want to bring this here, and when I'm finished with it, I want to. And you're gonna play it. I think you should play it honestly, and I think you will like it as well.
My only issue is this. Okay,
Yeah,
I have two things.
the
One,
controls.
yes. Most of all for me it's the controls. Because on it doesn't look like a game that would be as good to control on console.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the requirements are for PC.
I don't think it's actually. I think the new laptop that
Yeah,
you
because
bought.
I
I
just bought a new laptop. It's
I
not a
think
gaming PC, but it's a decent laptop.
I think it could run it. It seems like it
Mm.
doesn't have like big what's it called criteria
So
for how like
yeah, because as long as it doesn't need a good GPU, I could probably run it on that one.
yeah. I'll look into it for you.
Yeah,
Because yeah, I think in this game definitely if you can
yeah,
play it on PC or
that's the
Mac,
issue.
I know
Yeah.
it's on Mac as well. If you can play it like on PC or Mac, play it there. Uh, Also, like I could test out the controls for you. I'm gonna get my Xbox controller tomorrow. So
Yeah, let me know.
yeah,
Let me know. Yeah, it looks very intriguing because I'm also a fan of kind of investigative storytelling and the idea of being just thrown into this world and you have to figure out for yourself how to investigate this crime sounds very cool. Very
man,
cool.
it's so I want to talk in depth about the answers and
Yeah,
choices. So this is like it feels real. That's the thing. It feels like
yeah,
my choices matter. Oh,
mm.
conversation. That was the thing. One last thing. Conversations.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
So the game has a time system actually. So there's a clock going in the
Hmm.
corner. So and the way time works is whenever you have a conversation with someone, time moves. But when you're running around, time doesn't move. And for me, that's something that games don't really tend to think much about, but time in games is important. Or isn't like
It
super
is.
important, but in some games it should be more important. Like Persona does it with time. Like time is important in the Persona games. But in this game, it's like, okay, I've just had these conversations. Now it's 2 o'clock. I know that at 9 o'clock I have to go to this apartment and interview the smoking man. I haven't interviewed him yet. I keep forgetting because I keep going to sleep. I need to remember to go interview the smoking man. I need to go interview him and figure out if, like, because his apartment is looking right down at where the murder happened. He knows something. This dude, I'm sure he knows. Look at me. I'm going insane. You talk to him, but that's the thing, like how the game actually uses time. Like whenever, yeah, you do something, time moves, and the next day, like it seems like the game is gonna take. If I had to guess, the game is probably gonna be a week long because in your
Right.
journal it says whenever you get a quest, like I'm in Wednesday now, and it says
Mm.
Wednesday you got these quests like to do or cases or whatever it is they're
Yeah,
called.
yeah, yeah.
So it seems to me it's gonna be like a week and then the story's gonna end, if I had to guess. So maybe I'm like halfway through. But
So is it possible maybe that you don't solve the crime by the end?
I think so. I legitimately think it's possible that you don't solve the crime.
Fuck.
And it seems to me, without spoiling, I think you can actually maybe cover up the crime if you agree with the crime. I think that's going to be an
Damn.
option, honestly,
Wow.
based on,
Amazing.
because I know right now like who did it. I just need more like proof and stuff, like
Evidence. Yeah.
evidence. I also need like a motive and all that. I kind of know their motive, but I need more. And there's something else going on as well. And like, there's so many. Like I feel like Charlie in Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where he has like the board and he's going, Pepe Sylvia, Pepe Sylvia. That's how I feel like talking about this game. But yeah, it seems like the ending can go like in 30 different variations. And I like it. I love it, honestly. I love it. And every time I feel like I've hit like a wall,
Mm.
I realize something. I realize, oh, wait, that dude said something about this, right? Oh, let's go check. And then conversations happen, you can move on. And if you don't have anything to do and you would just need to move the time till the next day, you go to the bookstore, you buy a book, and you just read it because reading makes time go faster. So
Mm.
that's a
Cool.
pro tip because it took me a while to figure that thing out that you could just read books to pass time.
Oh, you were just walking around not knowing what to do.
I was just walking around talking to people and just like getting every single bit of conversation out of them. Yeah. So yeah, there's like so many more systems. Like there's even the what is it? Good cop, bad cop, apocalyptic cop, a sad cop system, and I'm a sad cop. And I realized
Of
because
course you are.
I keep
Of course you are. You sad fuck.
Because I keep apologizing to people, and the game actually like made me aware of it. Because Kim's like, "Why are you so apologetic to people?" I'm like, I don't know, I don't want to bother them. Was one of the answers. I was like being truthful to myself, like I don't want to bother these people. So I kept apologizing every time they said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to intrude on you." So he's like this sad alcoholic cop who's trying to solve this, but it's so dumb. Oh, and he's a communist as well, because I have most points in
Of
communism.
course.
Yeah,
I mean, yes.
yeah. Ah, what a game! What a game! You should really like legitimately. I think if you're interested in how video game narratives can like push the medium forward,
Hell
this
yeah.
is the game. Like if you're interested in narrative specifically, this is the game. If you're looking for Rudy and Shooty, Mac Shooty games, this is not the game for you at all.
No.
I will not recommend this game to anyone who's like more into action. If you're into narrative, this fucking game, man.
Yeah, I would be down for it. Again, we'll see if my laptop that I'm getting next week can run it. And if it can, I should definitely give it a shot.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Sounds amazing.
Speaking of amazing, this episode of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Wow, episode 4. The whole world is watching.
Yeah.
Hugo, this starts with a Wakanda flashback. We see Bucky. And what's her, not Okoye. She comes up to him. And she starts doing the thing from Civil War, which is like reading from the book, like longing, homecoming, freight car, all of these like trigger words. And he just starts crying because he's afraid he's gonna like didn't fix him, and nothing happens. And
But they did.
and his cry turns into a laugh, and he just smile. He's just like smiling. What a way to
Yeah.
open the episode!
It was a good way because I think it paid off on the cliffhanger of the last one where we
Yeah.
met the Wakandan warrior for the first time.
Third
Yeah,
time.
it was
Like,
a
this is the
was a
third
good
time we've
start.
seen her, Hugo. I keep saying
Well,
we met her in
the first
Civil
time
War.
in the show,
We met
first time
her
in the show,
We
first
met
time
her
in
in
the
Black
show.
Panther as well. She's not a new character.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
You know what I mean.
I'm just
But
kidding.
yeah, what did you think about the episode overall?
I feel like this show just
Mhm.
continuously keeps getting better with each episode. And that's how I felt about this one as well. Like each episode, I feel like, oh, this is the strongest one, and that's how I feel about this one as well. I feel like this is the strongest episode so far.
So for me, the strongest episode is still the second one.
Which I understand. Like if I had to choose another answer, it would be the second one.
Because I think the third and the fourth are kind of slower episodes where. Here's the thing about this episode. I thought this episode kind of repeated itself. Like it did a little story, and then it did another version of the same little story. So they figure out a way to how to talk to Carly. They talk to her. Fake Captain America shows up and fucks everything up, and then they figure out another way to talk to Carly. They talk to her, and then fake Captain America fucks everything up again. And I understand the reason why they did it, because they have to have the scene where he finds, the vial of the serum, and we eventually find out that he's injected himself with serum, which apparently now you can just do it and you're fine and you become Captain America. You don't have to go through the whole crazy machine thing that makes you huge. That makes you swole, as the Americans would say.
Yeah, I mean, it was like in the 40s. Of course, they needed a machine that had to
use the entire crazy machine, yeah.
Dude, oh my god. Sorry, I'm gonna need to stop you right there.
Yeah.
It's the curse of Eva. It's the curse of Evangelion. Listen to me.
Why are you doing this to me?
Listen to me.
Okay.
So in the first Captain America movie, right, they had to use the entire electrical grid.
Jesus fucking Christ! Yeah,
to save them. It's the same thing in Evangelion, where they had to use the electrical grid of Japan to power the gun to beat the angel.
To kill Tamriel.
Oh god! Oh my god!
Why are you doing this?
It's the curse.
You absolute madman!
It's the curse.
So yeah. So anyway, so again, I get why they do it, but I think it makes the pacing of this episode specifically feel a bit weird overall. I really like the story beats and the conversations that are being had, even though they kind of repeat themselves. But I really like them. I just feel like just structurally, the episode feels a bit weird. Don't know if you know what I mean, because the fact that it repeats the same story again, it's kind of odd. But that being said, that especially the second half of the episode when we get to the end is pretty good stuff for Marvel, especially. It's great.
So there's that whole time. What do you think of the whole time about supremacy that they talk about this episode?
This show is sneakily quite smart, because it's obviously dumb superhero shit. But at the same time, they're able to kind of sneak in some interesting commentary. And this idea of people who have a lot of power are inherently tend to have, to go towards supremacy is a very interesting conversation to have. I'm not sure if it makes complete sense in the Marvel universe that they've built, because there's a lot of people with power who are fighting for good. Very clearly in this universe, but at the same time, from the point of view of Zemo, who was somebody who lived in Sokovia, it makes total sense that he would feel that way. And I think it's very interesting, and the fact that we have seen Carly do some fucked up shit, even though her ideals. Even Sam says, like, we've been saying, oh, we actually agree with her, but Sam himself in this episode says, I actually agree with your fight. I just don't agree with the way you're going about it. And
which was a great character moment, because I felt like a lot of people, myself included, we kind of jumped the gun even before this show release, because now it's gonna be some military bullshit with Sam. Oh, look how much this is gonna be some propaganda shit. Oh, and the first episode was kind of that as well, with him flying over fucking. Oh, he almost entered another country's line, but he didn't. What a cool soldier! Let's let's
Yeah,
let's beat the shit out of Batroc the Leaper from What's a Soldier, the character that only I remember. Let's do that.
yeah, that guy,
That
the
that
French
one
guy.
guy, the French guy. Let's do that, and yet like going into this, like it's very critical of America, and I feel like
It is, yeah,
especially having the John Walker character, like the new Captain America, be like, this is America today, and this is
yeah,
the shit America does.
yeah,
Angry, irrational, just like a dog that isn't on a leash anymore, just like unleashed and just going
yeah.
about his
Goes
like
into another country and just drops a bomb,
yeah.
which is your representative in this show with this guy. Oh, just goes into this country and kills people with his
Yeah.
shield. Like that's not what Captain America is supposed to be.
Let's keep that the shield part to the end. I really
Yeah, we'll
want to
get
talk
to it
about that because that
again, but
was
like,
that was so good. Yeah. So I want to talk about a bit about Mama Dunya
yeah,
because now we like in between the when we recorded the last episode, this episode, we found out that apparently this show had an entire subplot with a biochemical weapon that apparently just like swept through the world. And I guess that was originally what happened to Mama Dunya, that she was like hit with this biochemical weapon. And like apparently they removed all mentions of this weapon because of COVID. Yeah, they feel like, oh yeah, this
right.
isn't the time to do a story about a virus killing people, which
That's fair
fair.
enough.
I'm glad they did that as well. Like
Yeah.
honestly, I would have rolled my eyes so hard if they would
Yeah.
have done. I was be like, nah, no. But yeah.
Did you see that Michael Bay produced a movie that's about COVID-23
Oh yes, yes,
in
yes,
the future
yes.
where it has
Oh.
evolved and we're still in lockdown and but you have to fight against the COVID infected? It's like, dude, come on. What the fuck are you doing?
Because COVID turns you into, what was it, like a murderer or something? It makes
Yeah,
you
some
crazy now
bullshit.
because it attacks the brain and not the lungs. But yeah, like they removed that, and you can tell, like, because I was watching with Joe, and Joe was like, "Who is this Mama Dunya person?"
Yeah,
And I was like,
it is a bit weird.
and then I explained, like, yeah, they talk about she was like her mentor or something, but
Yeah.
you
I
can
think
you can definitely tell there's something missing there with the Mama Dunya,
yes.
because she feels way more important than she actually
But
is. Like, yeah,
I think they gave her importance enough as just a symbol. She was kind of, I guess, she was some community leader within this refugee group. And, you know, Carly was a young woman and she was a mentor figure for her.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that's the idea. But I agree that it feels like, oh, we are really talking about this Mama Donya lady that we've only seen her in a hospital bed dying.
yeah.
So
Because I agree with you that we have given her like enough like dialogue and exposition to like explain why she's important, but yeah, you can tell there's something missing though. Like there's a little piece of the puzzle that's kind of missing in that storyline, which is like unfortunate. But like when you think about the circumstances, it's okay.
It's fair.
It's fair. Okay. I'm going through the notes here. Let's see. So we have this we have the cemetery scene. Let's talk about that first with
Yes.
Carly and one of her. I almost
One
said
of
goons,
her
but
friends.
Friends.
One of her friends, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Randy Goon.
But they kind of, she gets, it's interesting because the whole show is kind of about what it means to be Captain America.
Yeah.
And what Captain America is supposed to be versus what he might end up being. And it's interesting that they have this conversation with her friend saying, oh, actually, you remind me of Steve Rogers much more than that. And to her, that's kind of, she kind of takes offense to it because she's like, but I don't want to be that symbol of America because I don't want that. But it's quite interesting that the show is kind of engaging on what Captain America should be versus what he is in the current situation. It's good scene.
Yeah, it's a very good scene. Especially because he talks about like, hey, my father was in the resistance and fought the Nazis.
Yeah.
Like his grandfather might have met Steve. Like, we know Steve like fought throughout Europe in that one montage scene in the first Captain America.
Yes.
Fucking amazing. Where they're like, fuck that action. Let's just do a montage.
Yeah.
I love that.
And then they fought they fought Nazis for 3 months. So
like, and then we fought Nazis for 3 months, exactly. And they kind of like I want to like I'm gonna sound like that crazy MCU fans who sees connections everywhere. That's not what I'm doing. But it would
Mm,
make. But my point is, like, it would make sense, like, if his grandfather met Captain or saw him fight and
yeah,
was inspired by it, even if he didn't see him, like, he's
yeah,
like an important historical figure for them. Like, he's a
of
symbol.
course.
And going through that, they keep talking about, like, okay, speaking of symbols, like the shield and the meaning of what the symbols is. And Kali actually says during that scene, if I had the shield, I would destroy it. Which
Yeah,
is funny because that's the same thing Sam said in the last
yeah,
episode. I should have just destroyed the damn thing because
yeah.
everybody is going fucking insane over the symbol. And it's as if, like, the whole world, except for Bucky, like, Bucky is the only one who figured it out. Like, the whole world is, except for Bucky, is like, it's the man behind the shield that's important. The shield doesn't actually matter, which we saw in this episode, that the shield doesn't
Oh
matter
yeah,
at all. Like, it's just a shield. It's the
it
person
is.
behind
It's
it.
a weapon. It's a
Yeah.
tool. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Let's. Sorry.
then we
Go on.
have the first meeting between Kali and Sam, because like they go to the refugee camp and Zemo kind of manages to kind of, I think he gives candy to children in order for the children to help him figure
Oh my
out
God,
where this
I love him.
funeral is.
I love him so much.
It just and
He's so
like
perfect.
everything he does is kind of creepy, but at the same time he comes off kind of sweet, because
Yeah.
like to these kids he just gave them some nice candy
Yeah.
and like just to tell him where this place is. And so
Yeah.
but it turns out that John Walker and Battlestar, or whatever his name is, Lamar, yeah, now I remember, have followed them. So they actually all go together to this funeral place, and Sam manages to convince them to let them talk to Kali, and they have this conversation. And this, I think, is where the show is really good, because we have for all intents and purposes, one of our two protagonists and the main antagonist just having a conversation and empathizing with each other, which I think is something that Marvel quite often misses.
Yeah.
It was a great scene.
Because, like, the last time we've seen that scene, Black Panther.
Black Panther, yeah.
Yeah. Because we don't see that typically. We just sit down and have a conversation about, like, who they are.
What they believe, yeah.
What they believe. Exactly.
Why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah. And then...
And I think it makes her motivations make even more sense, and as an audience member you care about them even more, because your protagonists kind of agree with her, even though they don't agree with her methods, which we don't either. So it's a very good dynamic that they're building. But then, of course, you know, the American jock has to come in and fuck shit up.
What is his fucking problem?
I don't get it.
So annoyed at him at this episode. Like, I've been annoyed with him throughout this episode. I was like, oh, if I could just reach into the screen and just punch you, I would do it. He's so annoying. Like, he's just sitting there fidgeting. Like, he can't take it. He's like, we have to do it. We have to do it. We have to do it. And when you think about it, it makes sense, actually, why he's, like, fidgeting. Why he's like, Sam's gotta die. Like, he's afraid Sam's gonna die because he talks with Lamar after he goes there. He fucks shit up. They run, whatever, action sequence. Then they talk, him and Lamar. He's like, if I had the super soldier serum in Afghanistan, we could have saved those that we tried to save. And he talks about, like, he felt like we didn't do good in Afghanistan. He even says that himself. Like, he didn't feel like he did good in Afghanistan. He's like, I could do good here. Like, this is the first time I'm feeling like a good person, which is hilarious when you think about what he's gonna do afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell there is a part of him that wants to be a good person, wants to be good, but nobody fucking respects this guy.
Yeah.
So he finds the vial. Like, he finds the
vial, and then we get the scene after where Kali calls Sam's sister Sarah, or whatever you want to pronounce it in American, and kind of through her manages to set up another appointment with Sam, and she wants again to try to talk to him and empathize, but once again John Walker, as I said before, the show kind of repeats itself here. John Walker shows up again and starts fucking shit up, but we see right away that he's not as weak as he was before, because it turns out he did take the serum. And we also missed in between. We also saw a fight scene with the Wakandan warriors, who absolutely kick ass.
great
What a
fights.
great
Like
scene. Yeah.
every fight scene with like the Dora Milaje is so
Yeah.
cool.
Is great.
Especially how they take like, because you notice they're wearing like the metal rings around their necks, and then you realize they use them for like to make the make the spear spin around their necks, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, this is so cool.
Yeah.
Everything about the Dora Milaje is cool, man. I just
It's
love them
fantastic.
as a concept,
Mhm.
and they just like beat the shit out. And then she's like, it was so cool when she's when one of the warriors just grabs
Yeah,
the
does the
shield.
yeah,
Just
does the kick of the shield and grabs it the way
grabs it.
Steve did.
Yeah, and it's
amazing.
like this guy, he doesn't like John Walker doesn't get any respect from anybody. And this
Yeah.
like he really thought that he was gonna pick up the shield and everybody's gonna respect him. Like he doesn't understand like Steve had to work for that respect. That's the
Yeah.
whole point of the first
And
Captain America movie. Nobody
that's-
respected Steve either. They were like, look at this dumb idiot come here talking about
And I think that's what they're going for, because he
Yeah.
thinks he deserves respect because he's Captain America.
yes.
And the metaphor is, the American military thinks it deserves respect because it's fighting for, protecting the world and that kind of stuff. But if you're from another country, most often you'll think, well, yeah, but some of the stuff that you guys do maybe isn't deserving of respect, and so respect should be earned and not just given because you represent a symbol. The representing a symbol, it doesn't mean anything if you don't act accordingly. And yeah, so we see this other scene where he gets beat up, and so he eventually decides to get to actually inject himself with the serum, and we get this last fight scene with the Flag Smashers where one of them just straight up punches Lamar or Battlestar against the column.
Carly.
Is it Carly? No, I don't think it is Carly that punches him.
Yeah, she's coming in with the knife to kill John, and then Lamar jumps to protect him, and she punches him. I think it was her, right?
I'm confused because I thought it was one of her friends. I think the action scene is quite frantic, but anyway, one of them it could be Carly. I'm not sure. I think it was the one with the long hair, the guy with the long hair, but I'm not sure. But anyway, he gets punched against a column and dies, or at least it seems like he did. But
he's dead. He
seems very dead. Yeah. And so John Walker just loses it completely, and he starts following one of the Flag Smashers. And I think another interesting thing that they do in these fight scenes is that we see how Bucky and John Walker with the serum are much stronger than the Flag Smashers, because the Flag Smashers are just a bunch of kids that got the serum and are using it for their own mission or whatever they're trying to do. But they're not actually trained soldiers. So obviously the guy who's already a trained soldier who also has the serum is going to beat the shit out of them. And he follows one of them, and he we get this horrible scene where he just pins him down and just murders him with the shield. And like for Marvel and on Disney Plus, it's quite bloody as well.
Yeah, because when he like started chasing after him, Joe who was like watching the show with me, she was like, he's running into the public right now. It's like, oh shit, I didn't even think about that. And people are standing there with the smartphones, and he just goes to town on this dude.
Yeah.
And then grabs the shield and just like shoves it down on his neck. And you can tell like they were pushing the rating as far as they could with this scene. Because the blood splatter, like there's blood all over. And then he stands up and he's holding the shield, and it's just smeared in blood. We've never seen the shield look like this. Like that shield went from being like this honorable like symbol of hope to be something scary. Like that shield looks scary there. It's like this is a murder weapon. For me, that shot there is like one of the coolest things the MCU has ever done. That shot.
That's
doing
brilliant.
Something like that is bold. Like you said, especially for the MCU. Because like Marvel comics are way more violent than this. Like Marvel comics are super violent. But for MCU, toned down because it's actors and it's TV and it's movies. This is taking it to like its extreme as much as you could. And I loved it. Like I hated it, of course. I hated what happened, but I loved the scene because it actually got a reaction out of me, which is something I didn't expect to get from like these MCU
Mhm.
shows. But with WandaVision and now this, like they're
Yeah.
actually doing some interesting shit with this. That's for me. That's like okay, I'm back in because I was after Endgame. I was like, I don't see how
Yeah.
they're gonna do any more cool. Like they've done it, and how they're doing this shit. It's like, oh, this is actually interesting.
It
What?
is. Yeah. It's quite surprisingly good.
Yeah, yeah. It's that's the thing that we kept going back to, right? Both with WandaVision and this, it's surprisingly good. Like I did not
Mhm.
expect it to be this good, but it is.
Yeah. I
And
thought it would be way more generic.
yeah, right? Like, oh, now we
Yeah.
gotta go defeat this villain, and oh,
Yeah.
now we've defeated this villain. What happens now? For me, also like,
Okay, now let's talk about the important stuff. How are they bringing in the X-Men in this show?
okay, here's the thing. I think think about the power broker, right? Magneto. He's from Sokovia, and Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, right? They were like adopted by the Sokovian family, and then he left. He left because he's a war criminal.
Can you please explain that we're joking and we're making fun of
Yes, we're
Marvel
joking.
fans
We're
who
making
just
fun
keep
of
talking?
Marvel fans.
Marvel isn't able to do anything. Is not going to be able to do anything without Marvel fans saying, "Oh, this might be how they're bringing in the X-Men." And it's
'Cause
like just enjoy the show.
like,
Please
yeah,
enjoy a story for a story. It doesn't have
and
to tie into everything else. It doesn't have to set up everything else. It just
it's just
come
not
on.
like it's not just Marvel fans. Like if you look at how
Oh
people
yeah, it's
start
just
watching things
yeah,
nowadays, it's that thing where it's
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 fandom.
it's fucking it's J.J. Abrams is what it's mystery box. That's what it is. Like it's the same problem. Like The Force Awakens is meant to be watched like that though. Like he
Yeah,
intentionally made it so you feel,
mhm,
oh, who's
that's the
that? And
thing.
it's made like that. But I think the problem is like that type of storytelling is just seeping into everything else. It's Game of Thrones all over again. It's Westworld all
Mm,
over again. It's that type of storytelling where people forget what the story is actually about and instead just focusing on this trivial, oh, I figured it out. It's like,
yeah,
what did you
but
figure
it's
out?
also
That Wolverine was gonna show up? They're not gonna introduce Wolverine in a TV show.
yeah.
It's fucking Wolverine. You don't do that. Are you absolutely? Oh, I thought Reed Richards was gonna show up. Do you think they're gonna introduce the fucking Fantastic Four in a TV show?
Yeah.
I'm
And in
sorry,
the
I just got
first TV show.
in the first TV show. Are you absolutely? Are you deranged? Like it's come on. They're gonna
Yeah,
introduce
and
the Fantastic Four in the Fantastic Four movie that they've already
mm,
announced that they're doing with the director of the Home trilogy for like the
yeah.
Spider-Man Home trilogy.
My my thing is
Sorry.
it's not Marvel fans. It's just fandom in general
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I think tends to focus on plot and kind of mechanics, if that
Yes.
makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Like plot mechanics and how stories set up each other and how they lead into the sequel
Yeah.
more than the story itself. And I think Marvel, to some extent, can be seen as guilty of this
Yes.
at times.
No,
That there have been
absolutely.
movies, there have been quite a few movies in Marvel that are just kind of there, and it's like, oh, this is kind of really exists only to set up this other movie that they're doing, and
Age of
it's kind of
Ultron.
built
Age of
this
Ultron was a
culture.
setup to like 8 movies, it felt like. Watching
Yeah,
Age of Ultron,
exactly.
it was
And
like, oh, this is a
I
setup.
think while the MCU to some extent has started moving away from that, and they're doing more individual movies, and then maybe the after credit scenes do the setup. I think the fandom hasn't moved past that,
Yeah.
and and a lot of fans are watching everything like that right now. I think they're just focusing on plot and mechanics, and they kind of gloss over what the individual story is actually about.
Because,
And it is it is quite annoying.
yeah, and legitimately though, yes, Marvel is guilty of this. I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Like they've created the situation that they're in. That
Mhm.
being said, the reason why the Marvel Cinematic Universe works, and the reason why so many non-traditional nerds, or whatever you want to call it, like casual viewers, let's call it that, casual viewers,
Yeah.
still gravitate towards Marvel, is the fact that the stories are still pretty self-contained.
Yeah.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier, yes, it references Captain America movies, it references Avengers movies, it references Black Panther movies, it references so
Yeah.
many stuff. You don't have to watch that in order to understand what this show is about.
Mhm.
You don't have to. Like, if you know who Captain America is, Fine. That's all you need to know. You can watch
Yeah.
this show. WandaVision. You don't need to have watched. Also, every person on Earth has watched Infinity War and Endgame. That's all the context you need, honestly, for these shows.
Yeah.
All these things are self-contained, and that's why it works. And I don't know why people want them to be not self-contained and
I don't know either.
be this thing where it
Yeah.
just like sets up 30 different shows. Because WandaVision does set up shows. It sets up the Secret Invasion show that we're gonna get with Nick Fury and the Skrulls. And it sets up Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Because now Scarlet Witch is ready to join that movie. It does do setups. They're just not so explicit as people want it to be. It's not a, oh, now the Power Pack are gonna show up. Hugo, are you ready for the Power Pack movie? I'm sure as hell not ready for the Power Pack movie. Nobody wants Power Pack.
I don't even know what that is.
Be thankful for that. Like it's just like a dumb superhero team from Marvel that nobody knows about. It's kind of the joke. It's like, oh, it's the Power Pack. Just watch the show, and watch the show for what it's about. For this show, for me, it's about like, it's about America. Like it's about America, the heart of America, what America is today. It's about America being racist. It's about America being this aggressive military force, and it's about America and people outside of America even trying to figure out like, okay, what is the what does the symbol mean? Because this reminds me of something my mom once told me. Actually, my mom once told me like, America in the 40s, and I feel like America as a concept is a fantastic country. Think about it. The land of the free, you can be whatever you want to be. You're the ones who stopped the Nazis, like, of course, with the help of the Russians. Let's never forget that the Soviet Union was part of that.
Yeah.
But still, they were part of all that. And then America turned into something... Then what?
Well, because I think that the issue
I'm
there
talking
is
about
that
America as a concept, of course. Like, America's always had, like they had slaves and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
And racism. And
yeah,
but my point still stands. Like America as a concept, as a symbol. That's my point.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. And it's also like just more generally about power and how power affects people and how good intentions are not enough, and if you don't follow through and use your power for not doing good.
No. This show is about metal arm go. Brrr.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot. I hope they stick a landing, as I say every week, because as we know, third act's usually the worst part of Marvel movies.
Yeah.
But
I'm dreading the last episode. Honestly, I'm dreading the last episode.
Yeah.
Because we know they're gonna go fight John Walker.
Yeah. But I mean, they're setting it up well, though. I'm interested in that fight, and I'm interested in seeing what's going to happen to the symbol. Like,
and also the fights here way better than what we saw in WandaVision, because it's humans fighting, and some of them are super soldiers, but still, like you can follow the like again. I felt like the first action sequence in the show where Sam is flying around fighting Batroc, fantastic. The Dora Milaje fighting against John Walker, and then Bucky and Sam. Great stuff.
Great scene, yeah.
The small fight scene by the end here, I liked it. Like the fight scenes here work because it's so grounded, and it's not Wanda throwing red balls at fucking Agatha.
Although, again, I will say, and I'll say it every time I talk about the MCU. Just do an interesting setting for a fight once in a while.
Yes,
like,
I agree.
Even this is just it's some abandoned warehouse. It's like a harbor with containers.
I agree.
It's always broad daylight and it looks grey. It's like just give me some interesting visuals to go with because like good choreography, but also give me some interesting visuals. Because like look at John Wick. John Wick is the best at choreography and scenes, just fight scenes and action scenes right now, and all of it is like super neon lit and there's or it's raining or like give me some scenario.
Is also us. We too are the guys that go wow, look at these cool neon lights.
Yes, please give me the neon lights.
Hugo, speaking of neon lights, we should.
Speaking of neon lights,
do you know what also has neon lights? The game you played this week. Devil May Cry
Hell
5
yeah.
Special Edition. Now, I've played Devil
Special
May Cry
edition.
5. You played the Special Edition.
Yes.
Hugo,
With
you wanted to
thanks
talk.
to
You wanted
the
to make
power
this
of the PS5.
Yeah, you wanted to make this like the main topic of the show, and honestly, we should figure out a better way of structuring this show because we've been going out for 1 hour and 20 minutes, and now we made it to
That's
the main
fine.
topic. We should find out a way of naming
Well, we're
these
just
episodes.
gonna change. We're just gonna change the name of the episode and say, "Oh, we talked about a bunch of shit this week, so deal with that." Yeah. So yeah, Devil May Cry. Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition. It was my first Devil May Cry game that I finished because I have played a bit of Devil May Cry 4. I have played a bit of DMC Devil May Cry, but this one's the first one that I've actually played all the way through. And yeah, I had a great time with this game. Initially I was a bit tentative because like I have played a lot of like these kinds of action games, and I'm also really into the Souls games and those kinds of games that are combat focused. Yes,
Have you played Bayonetta?
of course. I've played
Okay.
Bayonetta 1 and 2, and I've played all the God of War games. So I've played like a lot of third-person combat focused games. And initially, my issue with Devil May Cry was I'm not used to this type of game without a dedicated dodge mechanic. And the dodge mechanics in this game are there, but they're quite intricate. Like you have to press R1 and X, and then a lot of attacks you have to jump to avoid them anyway. And that's really not the main point of the game. Like the main point of the game is to do combos that are so good that the enemies don't even have time to attack you. Really,
you don't want to get hit at all, and
exactly.
you really want to overpower the enemy to the point where they just can't overpower you.
Yes. And once I figured that out, I think I started having a lot of fun with the game because it's so smooth. Like the combat is so fucking amazing. And with thanks to the power of the PS5, the special edition is I played this at 4K 60 FPS, and it feels so good to play.
Yeah, shout out to the RE engine, by the way.
Yes, I was going to say that.
Fucking engine.
The RE engine is one of the best engins that
and just
they're
like a
using
quick,
right now.
like a quick side note, like Monster Hunter World also runs on the RE engine,
Hmm.
and the new Monster Hunter Rise on the Switch also runs on the RE engine, and that game runs on a locked 30 FPS on the Switch.
Mhm.
And have you seen how that game? It looks great.
Yeah, it looks
RE
amazing.
engine.
Yeah.
I don't understand how the wizards at Capcom did this, but
Because also all of these are wildly different types of games. Like Resident Evil 7 and 8 are first-person horror, survival horror games. Then you get Resident Evil 2 over the shoulder camera. Then you get this, which is like a stylish action game that's supposed to run at very high frame rates. Then you get Monster Hunter, which is a completely different style of game. Like the fact that they're able to use this same engine for so many different things means that they just built something fucking amazing.
Yeah. I want to speak about that engine for a bit, because I know you want to talk about, like, we talk about cool neon and cool jackets. You wrote cool jackets in the document. I wanted to ask you why first. Did you just think they had cool jackets, the characters?
Because hell yeah, like the game. Okay, let's talk about the aesthetics of the game for a second.
Okay.
I think the game looks brilliant. The character models are amazing. The enemies as well, the level of detail that they have are brilliant. The aesthetic itself, like the art style for all the weapons, and even just the van that Nico drives in, and the jackets.
I love Nico. She's funny.
Yeah, it all looks so good. But then I think the actual aesthetic of the levels that you're in is kind of boring.
Yes. Because it's mostly like gray, weird, the Quailof tree or whatever it's called. It's mostly that, and it's just not pretty to look at.
It's either like broken city streets or this like kind of hellish thing, but it's all like purple and pink and red, and it's not very clear what it's supposed to be. You're kind of walking on this thing that's supposed to, like, this demon flower that's sprouting through the ground, and I think that's the weakest part of the game. Just the way the environments look. They're kind of a bit boring and repetitive.
Yeah.
But again, it doesn't really matter because the point of the game is how incredible the combat is.
I agree.
Yeah. And of course, in this game, you play as 3 different characters.
Oh, wait,
and
wait. The reason why I asked for the jackets
oh,
before
sorry,
we
yeah,
go on. So the jackets. And basically every single item in this game is created in real life and then
yeah,
digitally scanned. Those
yeah.
jackets, the original jackets exist and they actually sold them after they made the game. Like you can get Dante and Nero's jackets and they went for like, what was it, $10,000 or some like
Of course,
insane amount of money. But it's
amazing.
like it's the jacket from the game.
Yeah,
Sorry,
because
I
they
just want to,
they actually scan the real life object and put it into the game,
and the
right?
models, like
That's
the
what they do.
face, like it's they
Yeah,
have face models that they've scanned, which they also did for Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil Village, and the Resident Evil remakes, like 2 and 3. It's like actual models that they've scanned into the game, which is cool stuff. Like I really like it when they do it like they were like human scanning, because
yeah,
it just looks so cool.
it looks better.
And
Yeah.
it looks better. And
It's
this engine
and
is
it's
specifically made for like scanning stuff in, I guess, because yeah, it just works.
yes, and I think it is the same thing that they did with Death Stranding, which we talked about before,
Yes.
and it's the reason why, again, even those character models are some of the best of the generation for sure.
And we talked about like Horizon even earlier. We mentioned Horizon, we mentioned Spider-Man. All these characters like have actual face models now.
Yeah,
Which is like a cool way of doing like this more photorealistic human look
yeah,
thingy. However, the RE engine is like the closest thing I've seen to what I would like to call photorealistic. It's not photorealistic, but
for human characters,
for
yeah,
human characters, like this engine it's magic. And the games just run so well. Of
yeah,
course, like this isn't an open world RPG, so it's of course it's gonna run well regardless, but still, like the games run well. Sorry.
yeah.
You
And
want
the
to talk
special
about
edition
yeah.
specifically is incredibly rock solid 60 FPS.
Unless you turn
Like
on ray
it feels
tracing.
amazing. No, well, even if you turn on ray tracing, the frame rate is stable.
Yeah.
But because you have to lower the resolution to 180p, it looks a bit weird. Like because you get used to the 4K 60, and then the ray tracing at 180 is still, it doesn't look as good as the 4K version. And I think it's just a case of the PlayStation not having the best ray tracing technology. Because I'm sure on PC you would want to turn on the ray tracing.
I mean, it's running on AMD's like graphics card, and
yeah,
I know at least just like a quick side note that AMD is gonna release Super Resolution, which is their take on DLSS, and it's gonna come to consoles as well. Like they said, they want them on every single AMD thing is gonna have that, like newer AMD stuff, including the consoles. So if developers want to, they could go back and update the game, and then you will be able to run it at 4K 60 with ray tracing.
With ray tracing, yeah, that'd be cool.
Well, we'll see how their like take is gonna be. If it's gonna be the same as NVIDIA's.
But regardless of that, the game, I think it's the best looking game I've played on PS5 so far. Well, Demon Souls looks really great, but it also doesn't really have like character models and face animations and that kind of stuff. So in terms of just character models and face animations, this is the best game that I've played on PS5 so far, at least. Let's get into the gameplay, because what this game does.
About the characters?
The characters, yeah, but like I think I don't
kind
know.
of have to talk
story,
gameplay if you have to call.
Yeah,
talk
like
characters.
We can talk about the story, but the story I messaged you multiple times saying, "What the fuck is happening? I don't get any of this." And the thing about the story is, there's a like kind of a twist at some point where
Let's just spoil
you
it.
find.
Yeah,
who gives a shit?
Yeah, who gives a shit? We're gonna spoil the game.
There's 3 characters in the game.
Yeah.
3 characters you play as. You play as Nero, who's the protagonist of Devil May Cry 4.
Yeah.
Right? And then you play as Dante, obviously, the protagonist of the first 3 Devil May Cry games. And you also play as this character V, who's just like edgier Kylo Ren, who reads poetry and has black tattoos and whatever. And they all have different gameplay styles, which we'll get to. But story-wise, you're told, oh, there's this giant tree that's sprouting from the ground, and this demon is doing it. Just go destroy it.
Yeah,
and that's the story. That's all you get. Yeah. But within that, there's so much. Like, there's so many characters that just kind of are there, and you don't know who they are.
Like, there's a lady
especially
called Lady.
V. There's a lady called Lady, because of course. Then there's Trish, but you know that I can understand. They're characters from the previous games, so I haven't played the previous game, so it's fair that I don't know much about them. But V is one of the three protagonists, and he doesn't get an introduction at all until like 10 hours into the game, and he's just there, and you're just I guess we're fighting together.
Yeah. And nobody
That's
questions this dude who has, what is it, a black, like a demon panther, a demon hawk, and he can turn into, then he gets white hair, goes Super Saiyan mode, and gets a big golden thing. And nobody's just asking any questions.
We'll fight together.
He's like, he's on our side. It's good. It's all good.
Sure. But, so, and then you find out that he was like the human part of Virgil, who's Dante's brother, and he wanted to eliminate his human part because his demon part was stronger and he could finally be strong enough to defeat Dante once and for all. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But it's kind of just
that Urizen, the demon that you fight in the beginning and the end of the game, is actually Virgil all along.
Yeah. It's actually his demon part.
Did you know that if you can beat Virgil in the very first level as Nero, the game just ends?
That's cool.
Yeah, there's a trophy for that as well. Like if you can beat them there, it just goes into a credit sequence, and it's like, and then just like text appears, and Nero defeated the demon, and they all have lived happily ever after. This was the story, or something like that. Like just something.
But it's like it's basically impossible, though, right? On
the first playthrough. No, on the first playthrough, it's impossible. You can do it on the second when you go.
When you get plus.
Yeah, I did it. It was still very difficult, but I did it, and I was like, okay. I guess I got the secret ending.
I guess I beat the game.
I beat the game again.
Bye. But yeah, so again, the story is absolute horseshit, but it's fun. Like because the cutscenes are fun. Like they have these crazy over the top cutscenes with ridiculous slow mo, and they're really well choreographed, and they look great. So it's very stupid, but in a fun way, and it kind of drives you forward for the main point of the game, which is, of course,
we're gonna talk about, like, speaking of like Devil May Cry's cutscenes. Devil May Cry 5 specific. I got it for my birthday when I turned 28, 29. Who cares? I got older. And when I got it for my birthday, I got the deluxe edition of the game, and the deluxe edition includes the, what was it called? The behind the scene cutscenes. Have you seen this shit, Hugo?
No.
We're gonna watch it like on stream after we finished recording the podcast. We're gonna watch this shit together. I'm gonna look it up on YouTube. But basically, it's these cutscenes behind the scenes how they did it, and they're just like, it's just like a bunch of Japanese dudes running around with action figures. And so, like, when they're doing like actions and they're doing like sound effects with the mouth, like whoosh, to show like what the idea is. And then suddenly, like, Nero shows up, and this one dude with bleached hair who just stands there, and then he says Nero's lines, and then the demons, it's just a dude going like this, answering him. And you can turn this on, so when you're playing the game, whenever there's a cutscene, it's these cutscenes that turn up instead of the actual cutscenes, and that's in the game.
Fuck, that sounds brilliant.
And it's so good. It's so freaking funny. Like, I turned it on. I had to turn it off quickly again. I was like, I can't take this. Like, even though I had seen the cutscene, I was like, this is just too insane. Like, I can't watch it. But yeah, it's part of the deluxe version of the game, so it's probably in the special edition as well.
It should be, yeah. I just didn't know, but I'll look into it for sure.
So 3 characters. We have Nero, V, Dante, and in the special edition we have Virgil as well.
Yes.
I want you to like run us through all 4 characters and the gameplay mechanics, and I'll just chime in because I haven't played the special edition, of course, so I can't speak to Virgil, but I can
I've only played like a few hours as Virgil because you have him unlocked from the beginning, but the way it works is that basically you just play the same levels, but in all the levels you play as Virgil. So for the first playthrough, it would be kind of weird to play as him the whole game, like. So yeah, I probably will go back and do a playthrough with him, but I just kind of played around with him for an hour or so to just see his basic moves. So I think the character that you play as the most is Nero, He's the character you start the game with, and he has a sword and a stump. Well, he lost his arm.
Well, a sword with a rift, so you can rivet it like a
Yeah,
motorcycle.
a sword that you can rev as a motorcycle, and
Amazing.
like
Fucking amazing. I love this game.
like
so
you
much.
can rev it with L2, and on the DualSense controller, it does the DualSense thing that when you what is it called, haptic feedback. Like when you rev it, it has like a stronger. It gets harder to rev as you go. It's brilliant.
Oh, that
feels
so
cool. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
so
fantastic.
Cool. Fuck. Now I'm jealous. I want to go back on what I said earlier. I want a PS5.
Yeah. Oh man, it's the stuff that they do with haptic feedback in this game is so fun. It's really immersive, really good. And he has the sword that you can rev, and then on the other hand, I think in the previous game his arm got cut off.
No, in the previous game he had a demon arm.
He had a demon arm, but in this game there's like a cutscene where his arm gets chopped off by Virgil or whatever.
Yeah.
So he has like this mechanical arm, and the mechanical arm can be a variety of different things. You basically with the circle, you have a special attack with the mechanical arm. So you can either have like a punching arm that like shoots forward and just punches an enemy repeatedly for like a few seconds, or you can have a hand that does like an electric shock, or you can have a hand that just bounces you around and makes enemies fly away. There's a hand that is just basically a one-hit KO where you grab the enemy and he kills it. And there's a variety of different hands, and they're a lot of fun to play around with.
If you get hit while using the arm explodes, and then it just goes to the next arm that you have equipped.
Yeah.
You can't change your arms. You have to go through them. Like it's almost like a magazine clip, and you have to go through them,
which is kind of annoying for me.
I kind of wish you could choose between them, because that would give way more variety.
I ended up not using the arms as much as I wanted to, because a lot of the time I had an arm that against this enemy, this arm isn't that useful, and I wanted to use the other one, but you can't switch them. So what you'd have to do is make it explode with L1, but if you make it explode, then you don't have it in your clip anymore, and so you have less. It's kind of a weird mechanic. They could have implemented a way, because also his character specifically doesn't use the D-pad at all, so you could have just right on the D-pad you change the arm that you use.
He does use the D-pad when you beat the game, because then you unlock his.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. They could have found a solution. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I agree. I also kind of wish like you could change throughout the clip instead of being forced to have that. And you, of course, you use the pasta maker, I assume, arm.
I did use the pasta maker as well. Yeah. I also you can have a Mega Man arm. There's a whole bunch of bullshit in this game.
Did you notice when you have the Mega Man arm, when you jump, he does the Mega Man jump?
Yes.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like it's so funny.
Cool.
It goes back to like this game doesn't take itself seriously at all. Like it's just having fun. It's like here's a fun story.
This game is a PlayStation 2 game. Yeah. And I mean that in the best way possible. It's just absolutely insane and just fun from the beginning to the end.
This is the kind of games we need to see more of. Like
for sure.
Like I want to see more fun stuff like this. But that's Nero's gameplay. And for me personally, I enjoyed Nero the most out of those three. I like the arm and I like the different arms, because I kind of liked, like, I agree it's an annoying mechanic how like you can't switch between them. That being said, I also liked experimenting with the arms. I was like, okay, I have this arm now.
Let's see what I can do with it.
Is this gonna be like a handicap for me right now, or is it gonna like help me going through forward? And it's just, that and like the revving of the sword, like when you rev it and you like if you do like the lock on back triangle rev thing where you just like turns into a fire tornado and then shoot, use the arm, shoot yourself away. Like you could do some awesome shit going for that SSS rank. How many SSSs did you get? Did you get a lot of them?
Like not that many. I'm not that good at the game. Like I have to admit, I'm not very good at this game.
Because that's the whole point for me. It's like getting that sweet SSS so I can hear the chorus of the song.
For me, for some reason, there's something about the gameplay for this game that I can never fully wrap my head around. Like I'm always thinking about what I'm doing, and it's very hard for me to just play the game and not think about the next move. and so I kind of get a bit flustered and don't mind it because I'm not that good at video games. If you haven't figured that out already,
Says
I'm
the
only
dude
good
that
at
has
one type
played
of game.
from software games, known for being notoriously hard.
Yeah, to me, those are the only games that I'm good at for some reason. I don't know why. I guess they just click with because I think the difference for me there is that the challenge in that game is beating the enemy, and the challenge in this game is how well you beat the enemy.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that's where it for some reason for me it's easier to learn those games than these games. That being said, I had a shit ton of fun playing as Nero. Then
How
you
about
can play
as
as
V?
V.
Yeah.
As V, you basically have with square and triangle on a PlayStation controller. You have these two different types of attacks. One is you control like a demon hawk, I guess,
Yeah.
or eagle or something, or like a big raven. I guess it is like a giant purple raven that shoots lightning. And with triangle, you have this panther that again, demon panther that kind of morphs into blades to attack enemies.
Yeah.
And you control your character and you move around wherever you want. But at the same time, you press square and triangle to create combos for the two demons to attack. And then if you get your devil trigger, which is kind of like a meter that you get as you play the game, as you create
when
combos
you go
and
Super
stuff,
Saiyan,
you flip. How do you say that?
you snap.
You snap your fingers and your hair turns white, and this giant golem shows up and starts shooting like purple rays or whatever.
Yeah.
It's
fantastic.
Initially, it's a bit jarring because you've been playing as Nero for quite a few hours when you first play as V. But then once you figure out the character, it's actually a lot of fun to play as him because I think it's the easiest out of all of them because once you figure out how to use him, he's really overpowered.
Yes.
And you just run around and you just murder everyone because you barely even
Hugo, you're cutting out. Hugo, you're cutting out.
Far away from the actual enemies.
Hugo, stop talking.
So it becomes quite a lot of fun. Although I will say his gameplay, I think, is the most because. What? Sorry.
You're cutting a lot.
What happened?
You're cutting.
Oh, sorry. I was saying that his gameplay is the one where you're just kind of spamming buttons the most, right? Because it doesn't really matter that you don't have to focus too much on what you're doing, and you kind of win. But it is quite fun to play once you figure out how it works.
Yeah, it's fun, but it's not the most engaging. He's not the most engaging character.
You're basically standing back and conducting what these two demons are doing.
Which is why it's also easier to get the triple S rank with him, because you barely get hit because you're just standing in the back and going, attack.
Yeah, exactly. But then you unlock Dante.
Oh, God.
And Dante has 4 weapon options. He can turn into a demon.
4 melee
weapon options.
4 ranged.
4 ranged weapons. He can turn into a demon in 2 different ways.
Yes, and he has 4 different fighting styles as well.
And has 4 different fighting styles, although I only ever used 2 of them.
Which ones did you use?
I used Swordmaster, which is like the one that has like an extra different melee attack.
Each one changes the circle button.
Exactly. Yeah. The circle button with Swordmaster was another melee attack. And I was like, that's the one that I'm going to use the most. And then there's the Trickster mode, which is the one that gives you a dodge button, which is what I wanted. So, those are the 2 that I definitely used the most. Because here's the thing about this game again. I could never quite figure out what you're supposed to do with the guns. I don't get it. Because you don't really do a lot of damage. What?
Want me to explain it?
Yes.
You use them to juggle. So mostly use it to get them extra points. Like, for example, if one is in there, you can shoot, juggle, and like close some distance, for example. And then use like your back triangle to get up to them.
Yeah.
And you can also use like to keep them in the air just longer and create some variety in your combos. So that's like one of the ways you can get your combo up. So it's mostly for that. Is why you use like your ranged weapons.
But again, since my brain is more wired with trying to defeat the enemy
and not how,
I Exactly. I go for the most efficient way, which is by using melee attacks. So a lot of the time I was using melee the most, and then sometimes I was shooting. But like I could never get into my head, oh, I should shoot because I need to keep the combo. It's just something that was hard for me to get through. But again, didn't really affect
Because
the
for
way I
me,
felt about the
also
game at
just
all.
remember, like for me, I've played Devil May Cry 3, I've played Devil May
Yeah.
Cry 4, I played
Yeah.
DMC Devil May Cry, and now
Mhm.
this. I haven't played. I played a bit of the first game, never touched the second because I've heard that the second one is like trash. Apparently, like people hate the second game so
Yeah.
much so it's been decanonized from the story. Like they don't reference the second
Wow.
game at all. It's to that degree. Nobody likes the second game, not even Capcom. So, because apparently the second game is so easy, you can just stand by and use your guns to kill everything. Like you don't even have to go in
Oh,
and
okay.
fight with your sword. Apparently, it's super easy.
Right.
Point being, so I kind of knew how to get into this game. I knew
Mhm.
what the game wanted from me. So I guess that's why I had an easier time like figuring out like, okay, I need to do dope ass combos to see like the
Yeah.
rankings go up. And that's why I know how to use the swords. For me, Dante broke my brain, man. Because again, 4 different melee weapons, 4 different fighting styles, 4 different guns, 2 demon forms,
Mhm.
a normal demon form, and a super demon form, which is so much already. And you can mix and match these how you want, even. Like, you're not forced to
Yeah.
use one or the other. But once you like really get good with Dante, that's when the game really opens up. Like, I prefer Nero just because he's simpler to play as.
Yeah.
Dante is definitely more fun to play as.
Dante was my favorite.
Because especially like, let me give you an example. Like one of his cool moves, one of the cool ways like you can play with him. You can go in sword master. You have his sword rebellion. You use circle to do like the. See, I haven't played this game in years, and I know exactly like
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
combos. And then you can do like the sword flip, where he like
Yeah.
flips the sword, does like a spin attack. Use
Yeah.
it, keep him in the air. Then while you keep him, you're gonna notice that some of the others are gonna creep in closer to you. Switch to the shotgun, switch to gunslinger, press circle. He'll do the nunchuck shotgun thing where he just like shoots everyone away. You create distance, zoom in one, get close, change with trickster, get close, change to royal guard, use royal guard to
Mhm.
deflect, and then when you deflect with royal guard, you actually build up charge, and then you
Yeah.
can use that charge to hit them right back. You can basically one shot bosses with this if you're good enough. We just
Mhm.
like block, 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 and hit them. If you can master what I just said, changing
Yeah.
the weapons constantly, changing the weapons constantly, changing the styles constantly, you're gonna have an amazing time with Dante. But it requires you to just like rewire your brain almost.
Mhm.
This is why I said this is the best like character action game with some of the best like combat you've seen. Because this game, it does the thing that I wish more games would do, and just say fuck it. Like you can play this game on easy and you can become better, or you could turn up the difficulty, and we're gonna just give you everything and just go
Mhm.
nuts with it. See what you can create. Because if you see what's like how people play online, like just
Yeah.
Google like
It's
Devil May
crazy.
Cry 5 combos. People are insane with this game. Like I
Yeah,
can't
I
play
did
on
it.
that
I did
level.
it afterwards because
Yeah.
during the game it would have made me feel bad about
Yeah,
how
yeah,
I was
yeah.
playing.
Yeah.
But like to me, I mainly stuck to 2 weapons with Dante. I basically only used the sword
Yeah.
and the motorcycle. Like
Of course.
he gets a motorcycle and he splits it in half and he uses it to as weapons.
And then you can
And
put
I
it back
made
together as a motorcycle drive and then split it in
yes,
half again and use like 2
exactly.
hammers almost. Like
It's incredible.
it's so
It's
funny.
crazy.
It's so
I
funny.
mainly stuck to that and the sword. I mainly stuck to Swordmaster and Trickster.
Yeah.
I mainly used the other demon form, the one that is super OP.
Yeah.
Because for me, the way I found the game fun, since the challenge isn't just defeating the enemies, is how you defeat them. I like just getting the SSS, like seeing the counter go up and getting the combos
And
does
hearing the
not
song.
appeal. Yeah, that doesn't necessarily appeal to me. That's not what I like in video games. I like the challenge of getting through the enemies way more than like doing it in the most stylish way possible and stuff. So the challenge for me was, how can I defeat these enemies as quickly as possible with Dante? And so I used all the OP moves all the time, and I
Yeah.
had a shit ton of fun doing that because That's the way I created my own fun. And I think what's amazing about this game is that it's so deep that you can play it at so many different levels and create your own fun. You don't have to master Dante for Dante to be fun, because you can, maybe it's too overwhelming for you. Okay, I'm just going to stick to one of the weapons and become really good at that weapon and just have fun that way. And that's why I think he's the best character in the game. And I almost wish that you could play the whole game as him, even as a separate mode, because then I would be able to have enough time with him to master all the other weapons and create even more, entertainment and fun. Okay, we've talked about the characters. I guess I could talk about Virgil very quickly, but Virgil basically, he has a katana, and he's the most technical. He only has that one weapon, but at least at the beginning. But he's, at least from the beginning, he felt like the most technical character in the game. Like, he feels even more complex than Dante. He also has the demon forms and stuff. Yes.
So they actually added Virgil in the special edition of Devil May Cry 3. Virgil was added.
Yeah.
I didn't play the special edition. I played the normal Devil May Cry 3.
Yeah.
In DMC Devil May Cry. No, sorry, the special edition of Devil May Cry 4.
Devil May Cry
added
4.
Virgin.
Yes.
I played the normal Devil May Cry 4. In DMC Devil May Cry, they added him as DLC. I did not play the DLC. So I've never actually got around, because I always played the original version of Devil May Cry. I never buy the special edition. So I've missed Virgil every single time. So whatever you say, I'm going to believe you. You can tell me he's shit, and I'll be like, yeah, he is. You can say he's technical.
No,
yes,
it feels like he's the character that you could master and do some really crazy moves. Like, there's one of the devil triggers is that you summon V because it's part of you.
Oh, yeah.
And V summons the monsters, and then you're fighting, and at the same time there's V with the monsters fighting with you. It's
no way.
Fucking amazing.
That's amazing.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's fucking crazy. It's fucking crazy. Yeah, I'm definitely going to play it eventually.
Should I get the game for the PC? Like, I have it on PS4, but
how expensive is it? The special edition? How cheap can you get it? Because I feel like
the special edition did not release on PC, so I can't play with ray tracing. What I can do is get the Virgil thing, and of course I have it's DLC on PC.
Oh, it is DLC.
Yeah.
Okay,
and you can get and unlocked frame rates and all that. So I'm gonna be playing on my
basically the same as the special
144 hertz. So
yeah. I think it could be worth it. Like, I feel, because you play the whole game as him, so you get a lot of time with him to learn all his moves. So I think it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
One final thing. So overall, again, it's not necessarily my specific style of game that's like my favorite kind of game, but I really had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was amazing. One last thing I want to say about it, which is where I get...
Hugo froze. He just froze. One last thing and he froze. Oh my god, did his internet just go out? Huh. Rest in peace, Hugo. You know what? I'm gonna give him... okay, I'm gonna talk a bit about Devil May Cry. Like, other than that, for me, Devil May Cry, what Devil May Cry does, I can't do it while he's frozen in front of me. I'm not professional enough to do this. Oh,
sorry.
Are you back?
I should be. Yes.
Okay. Sorry. I almost ended the show, just so you know, because I was like, maybe he's not coming back.
Fair enough. No, I am back. I guess we'll just figure out what to do with that. The beauty of the Italian internet. So the game is divided into sections where you fight a lot of enemies at the same time, and then you have the boss fights.
Yes.
And for me, the regular encounters were a shit ton of fun, were encounters that I loved, when you had so many enemies against you and you had to figure out what the best way to defeat them was. I thought that was amazing. The combat was perfect for that. The boss fights, I actually felt a lot of the time that I didn't understand what the game wanted from me during the boss fights, because it felt like what you needed what the game wants from you during regular encounters and during boss fights was quite often completely different. Because there's there's like, for example, there's this one boss fight where you play as Nero, and there's this flying enemy, and he or she, whatever, it's a demon flying thing.
Oh, it's the one where you have to grab the crystals, right? Is that the one you think about?
Yes, you have to grab the crystals. But
that's a great boss fight.
I didn't enjoy it. Because for me, I felt like all of my time was spent trying to get near them, and then I hit it a few times, and then it just flew away. So
that's why you're supposed to use the gun, for example, to like keep that momentum going.
No, I get it, but she was on the other side of the map. So even if I was doing that, I was shooting her. So like my combo was still going on because I was shooting, but she was on the other side of the map. So it took me so long to, and then when I got nearer, she just moved again. And I felt like the mechanics didn't always match the boss fights as well as they matched the regular encounters. And again, I think a lot of the time during the boss fights, I couldn't quite figure out what the game wanted from me. And I got through them, but they were never my favorite part of the game. Like I kind of felt frustrated a lot of the time during the boss fights because I just didn't understand what the game wanted from me. And I felt like it was asking me to do stuff completely differently from what I had been doing the whole rest of the game. Although I will say aesthetically, and just in terms of how, like the music, how amazing the music is, and how like gigantic the bosses are, and how the introduction cutscenes are so cool, like that stuff, brilliant, a lot of fun. Great like visual style and stuff, really over the top, but a lot of fun. But yeah, I think the boss fights for me weren't my favorite part of the game, which is surprising because boss fights are quite often my favorite part of games.
Yeah, like especially since you're a From Software fan, where it's funny because like it's almost the opposite of a From Software game, right? Like you kept comparing them to like Sekiro and Dark Souls, where
it's
games,
exactly
like,
the opposite.
Like the normal enemies, you don't really like, half the time you just run away from them because you're like, I want to get to the boss fight. We're here, you're like, no, I don't want the boss fight. I want the small enemies. Those are the ones that are fun to fight against.
I enjoyed fighting the hordes of enemies a lot more.
And you're not interested, like, it's not about how you defeating the enemy is about how, like in Bloodborne, Sekiro, Dark Souls, you have to defeat it. It doesn't matter how, you just have to do it. Whereas like, no, think about how you do it. You have to look super stylish, super cool, get them SSS ranks. Super sexy style, is that what it's called when you get the triple S?
Yeah, super sexy style.
Amazing. Hugo, I think we almost hit 2 hours today. We've been through a lot.
Hell yeah.
We've been through a lot. We talked PlayStation, we talked E3, we talked Kojima, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and now Devil May Cry 5. And I talked Disco Elysium with the Rivershoal City report. Yeah, I gotta talk more Disco Elysium in the future. Like when I beat the game, I want to talk in depth about it because I have so much to say about this game. And especially like if you get around to playing it, we gotta figure it out. If you get around to playing it, we should do an episode where we can both talk about it because I know you have stuff to say as well. I'm sure you're gonna have so much to say about it. In the meantime, thank you everyone for listening to this episode of I'm So Tired. I'm feeling super tired right now after recording for 2 hours with Hugo. Hugo, are you tired?
Hell yes, I am.
You're so tired.
Very tired. Well. Yeah. I'm so tired.
Well, if you like listening to this podcast, you can find us on Anchor FM /I'm So Tired, right? /I'm So Tired?
I'm So Tired, yes.
Yes. Which is where you can find us on your favorite podcast platform. But you can find us like on Spotify, you can find us on Apple Podcasts. So wherever you listen to podcasts, look, we'll probably be there, as far as I know. Also, you can find us on YouTube. Just search for I'm So Tired IDVI, because again, we don't have a channel link. So just search, you should be able to find it.
This is not a professional podcast, by the way. So we're just having fun.
We're just having fun. Also, if you want to listen to the show being recorded live, we usually record, like we always have like a usual date. It's either Friday or Saturday in the evening, Danish, European time. So it's like around 8, 9, mostly 9 Central European time. So 9 p.m. Central European time, Friday or Saturday. You can follow me on Twitter at Ideva, and you can follow Hugo at
Hugo_Pinai.
Yes, and we will post whenever we go live, so you could just follow us there. Also, it's where we post our hot takes, so if you enjoy those and want to hear me say things like that, you can go there. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, get some sleep because I'm so tired, man. See you.
Yeah. Say it together. I'm so tired.
I'm so tired.